Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of three rundowns of the Season 5 field. In these videos, we're going to be talking about not only our predictions, but all the changes that have happened in the silly season, a little bit of recaps of the drivers and the teams, and basically a little bit of everything in this to get you up to date on all the changes that have been made and probably some of the little bit of the past of all our drivers here in the NSDCA. First up is our top series, the Crown Royal Truck Series. I'm obviously Peter, and I'm joined by the league president, Brandon.
Hi, guys. Thank you. And let's go ahead and just jump on in. So the first team up is the Shade Burkhart Racing number 00 entry, and last season driven by Aiden Burkhart for the majority of the season until he was booted from the team and went to victory lane at North Wilkesboro with Alex Peters driving that car on a one-off attempt. This season, though, Ryan Butcher jumps from Butcher Gatorade Motorsports, and he will drive that SBR 00. A very fast driver, a very fast team, but a driver who has not won in 2 seasons. Does not seem like he is going to be a top contender at SBR, but could be a threat.
Personally, I feel like that he is going to be a top contender on the basis of that. Many have said that he's in the garage area. Many have said that he's been held back on his equipment. He obviously owns Butcher Gatorade Motorsports. That team going to 2 trucks this season. We'll get to that in a bit. But the 00 has always kind of been struggling, I want to say, as one of the SBR trucks, but I think with the right driver could boost it up to the likes of Brady Burkhart at that team. Sponsors this season will be ABC Supply, and then General Mills carries half the season with 3 of its brands, those being Betty Crocker, Wheaties, and oh god, it's slipping me, Hamburger Helper.
And now, as we talked about Ryan Butcher, his team brings up the second entry in the field. That is the number 01, Anthony Lehman. Anthony Lehman, a rookie from the Red Bull Short Track Showdown, the winningest driver in the RBSTS when that was still around. He jumps over the Mountain Dew Custom Series and right into a Crown Royal truck. Butcher Gatorade Motorsports, of course, a kind of more of a mid-tier team compared to Shade Burkhart, and the 01 now that brand new truck. Chevron coming back for the majority of the season, but Gatorade, of course, with their long-term sponsorship with Ryan Butcher and company, Gatorade will be on for a majority of the season. Of course, last season, the 78 truck was basically what this 01 is. That truck had a very horrible start to the season with Kalen Nosler going into the catch fence at Auto Club. Hopefully we'll see something better. But Anthony Lehman, skipping the MDCS is a bit interesting, but he does have some very good short track experience. Was a very strong contender in many races last season in the RBSTS.
While Lehman has run the RBSTS the past 2 seasons, he isn't really experienced enough on the big track set, I feel. The 01 team's a little bit behind compared to the midfield on its equipment, I feel, because the team was a part-time truck the last 2 seasons. 78, that was driven by multiple drivers, but most notably seeing Kalen Nosler have that awful crash at Auto Club last season where he got into the catch fence on one of the opening laps. So can the 01 team improve? I feel like it could be boom or bust for Anthony Lehman here. I don't think this team is going to have one of the many charters in the Truck Series field, so he'll have to qualify for most of the races.
One note about Lehman in his Season 2 campaign back in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, he brought Impala Racing its best finish, coming in a top 5 run at Gateway. So Lehman, he has been driving in some underfunded equipment before, but the 01 team looking to get back on the top for Butcher Gatorade Motorsports this season.
Last season, they took out a loan, which is no longer a thing in the NSDCA. And now Gold Motorsports has rebranded themselves to A-Straw Motorsports. And unlike last year where they drove Fords and Chevys after a manufacturer change mid-season, this year they have received a free truck from GMC. Chevrolet has stepped out of most of the NSDCA's competitiveness, possibly returning for next season in the Cup Series. That's still undecided yet, but Chevrolet rebranded themselves to GMC, and to promote that, they gave out some cheaper trucks to some teams that have either loyally supported Chevrolet or were trying to make the jump up. So A-Straw wanted to make the jump back with Christian Vargas.
That '08 team will be sponsored by a handful of sponsors this season. Weren't able to get many full season sponsorships, but the GMC team looking to get going. A big rookie contender is next up, and that is for Diego Yepes Incorporated. DJ Curtis will take the helm of the number 5. That was the 13 truck last season, and oh yeah, Curtis got 2 wins in a row in the CRTS last season with that number 13 team. One of the top rookie prospects coming into this season. Pennzoil sponsoring for a majority, as well as Traxxas and Monster Energy covering that team. But the Ford team, one of the only manufacturers in the field not coming out with a brand new look to the team. But the Ford team, Diego Yepes Incorporated, coming off of a championship season. This isn't the championship truck, but it was a very strong contender multiple races last season.
DJ, it's going to be tough to see how he'll do. The 13 isn't to the level of the equipment that Diego Yepes won his championship last season, but is still a very good truck. However, he's a rookie. There's a lot of good drivers in the field. Does he make the chase? Does he not? I think he probably can, because this number 5 team, Curtis, won 2 races last season. Although he didn't have he pretty much was irrelevant in the NBCS a lot last season in the number 77, but maybe the trucks just suit his driving style a little bit better, and he may surprise a lot and go for the Rookie of the Year title.
Next up on the grid is one of 4 Rockstar Energy racing trucks this season, rebranding themselves from Red Bull Motorsports and switching from Chevrolet to Ford. Nicky Morris, the brand new team owner, will be piloting that ride. The majority of the season will be sponsored by Aspen Dental, as well as Warrior by IndyCar driver Danica Patrick, and Rockstar Energy picks up a handful of the remaining sponsorship. Nicky, a rookie coming from the Mountain Dew Custom Series who sat silently last season in the MDCS, not really getting a strong run at any track, but Nicky coming up to the Truck Series does not look like he might not be a Rookie of the Year contender with the amount of rookies that we have in here, but he could be a contender for wins with this new Rockstar Energy partnership.
Nicky is sort of a humble team owner, I feel, in the fact that he wants to look out for the best of his other drivers and not himself. So it'd be nice to see him up front running up there with the big dogs, but I feel like this number 17 the number 7 team may more be like a research and development truck for this team on a full-time basis. But next up is the number 8 truck.
Eli Bright moves into the number 8 from Texas Star Racing's number 28. And remember last season, the beginning of the year for Texas Star Racing started out grim. Riley Spurley Tube and that horrific Indianapolis crash costing him his entire season last year for the Crown Royal Truck Series. Without a driver for that 28 team, they had to dive to their Mountain Dew Custom Series program and bring up Eli Bright a year earlier than expected. But Eli went on to win Richmond for Riley and TSR and would have made the chase if it wasn't for a costly mistake at Charlotte, dropping too many spots on a late race restart. Coors Light has gone all in on Texas Star Racing this season and will sponsor the number 8 truck with all of their different brands, including Blue Moon, Keystone Light, Coors Light, and Molson for that Canadian race.
Eli's going to have an interesting year next year because he is not in basically the number 2 Texas Star Racing team equipment. Obviously, it's Riley Spurley Tube who returns to the 28. We'll get to him later, but Eli has a long-term deal with TSR, and will it be able to pay off? We'll just have to see how he does this season for his own team and his own truck within the TSR organization.
Sebastian Kukulon comes in up next. He's driving the number 12 Ford with AT&T and Rockstar Energy sponsorship. He is also part of Rockstar Energy Racing. But Kukulon, in this number 12, he used to be the owner of the team and gave that up to Nicky Morris to focus on his driving career. A driver who has been here since the beginning of the NSDCA, but has been winless for 4 years straight. Driving for Ford Performance Racing back in Season 1, he got that pull at Iowa. And Season 2, he almost won the title without a race win, but Atlanta cost him big time. Season 3 and Season 4 in the Crown Royal Truck Series have been a bit of a downtime for him, especially for this own team. A few people suspected that he could have made the move from Rockstar Energy Racing last season, but will stay with the Ford team. Looking to get his first career win in the Crown Royal Truck Series this season. Question is, can he do it?
Loyalty is, I believe, one of the biggest factors to success in this league. You want to have strong, stable relationships just to build off of season after season to get better and better. That's what Kukulon is doing with his former team, I should say, because he doesn't own it anymore technically. But can he do it this season? It depends, because last year they had the 12 and the 19 they had 3 trucks full time. They've gone from 2 full time trucks to 3 full time trucks. This season to 4 full time trucks. Could it be a little bit of overexpansion? Maybe. But is Kukulon still the number 1 driver and main focus of the team? I believe so. If they can get Kukulon going, I think the rest of the team can get going as well.
Coming in with the number 13 truck this season in a new brand, new deal, and new team and sponsor for longtime veteran Paul Jackson. He was back as a rookie. He drove for Monster Motorsports in season number 2 and season number 3. He drove in the Mountain Dew Custom Series for the team, getting his final start in the NSDCA as a win at Kansas at the finale there. Last season, he drove the number 9, and do not forget that in Season 1 of the Crown Royal Truck Series, he won the inaugural Crown Royal 300 at Daytona for Monster Motorsports. He's gone through 2 different splits from between Monster going to GoDaddy and DYI, and now as GoDaddy shuts down and folds into Zachary Racing, he has yet another team. Last season, the GoDaddy Motorsports had 3 trucks going. Now this season is 4 at Zachary Racing, but Paul definitely not one of the top dogs. DeLello and Gibson, who we will talk about later, are big at Zachary Racing. Question is, will this 13 team be the R&D team for Zachary, or will he be able to make the chase once again this season?
Paul Jackson is like a very weird driver in the terms of everything, because he is not like one of the top dogs, but he can still perform. He definitely isn't the focus of... He's not the main focus of like any team he's been on, it feels like, because like at GoDaddy last year, they had team owner Jacob Edson and Logan Cloud. Those guys were definitely more notable in not only the garage area, but on track as well. Jackson is just a very quiet driver, and I feel like he's almost overlooked at some point. So can he do it with Worldwide Technology and Tax Act funding him this year in the 13? Maybe, but you just have to realize that he is driving on his old number 9 GoDaddy truck equipment, and now he's on the 13 for Zachary Racing. And with DeLello and Gibson still being the main focuses for Zachary, I don't know if Jackson will be able to sneak his way into the chase once again.
Coming up after that, number 16 is Maxwell Phi. Phi drove for Ford Performance Racing, which is a satellite to the team he is on now, Butcher Gatorade Motorsports. And with Gatorade being a very prominent figure for BGM, he has that as of almost full season sponsorship, except for the California races, the home tracks for Butcher Gatorade Motorsports. The 76 performed very well last season, most notably starting and running inside the top 10 at Darlington until the late race pit stops and cycles shuffled him to the back of the lead lap. The 76 team was very strong with Phi last season, making some notable races, but this season in the 16, driving Ryan Butcher's 16, I might add, which is still one of the top 10 trucks in the garage area. This 16 team looking to rebuild with a brand new driver this season.
Yeah, Maxwell Phi did make a bulk of the season for Ford Performance Racing, which was a good thing that for not only him, but FPR. It got Phi noticed in the garage area, and when Butcher decided to leave the 16 team, it really picked him up. Ryan Butcher, though, last year, he did not make the chase, but he had a great second half of the season, or should I say, once the chase started, a great chase season outside the chase. He rallied from about 18th in points to 12th in points, just outside of the 10 chasers that made the field. And Butcher did contend at tracks like Richmond and some others, possibly looking for wins at those. So can Phi do that? I'm not sure. This is his first full-time season, so we'll just have to see and what he can do, as he's probably the leader over Lehman at BGM.
Up next is a very chaotic team. This season, only 2 teams are running with the Mercedes truck. That is Mercedes Autosport themselves and Ethan Head's Outside Line Sim Racing. This team has lost both of their star drivers, all of their equipment. They've had so many monetary problems, and for OLSR, Ethan Head, he drove for Ditech and Shade Burkhart Racing last season in a split there in the 00 and 67 Mountain Dew Custom Series. Head goes to full-time in the Crown Royal Truck Series, but with a very struggling team and underfunded performance and a very slow truck. It'll be a miracle to see him get up in front of these races, but he can drive a car. We've seen him do very well in the Mountain Dew Custom Series. Question is, how will he do in the CRTS?
It'll be a big test for this number 17 team to prove themselves and get their reputation back in the garage area, because they definitely lost some of it last season through a lot of chaos within OLSR. So Head just needs to have a good rebound season, put all of his ducks in a row, and he will be all good for seasons to come.
The third Rockstar Energy Racing team up here is Gatlin Downey, the number 19 team, coming back with Rockstar Energy this season, and Wendy's still sponsoring the number 19 for a handful of races this season. Gatlin Downey, owner, of course, of the rookie legend Jose Perez and Gatlin Downey Incorporated. He still remains on Rockstar Energy Racing for another season. The team ran very well last season until Watkins Glen, when he was crashed into the pit wall and suffered minor injuries. Was able to get back in the truck only a few weeks later, but did not make the chase and started falling very badly in points. Finished outside of the top 20, in fact. Downey and this 19 team, one of the strongest on Rockstar Energy Racing, but who knows if they'll even be able to get up there. Rockstar Energy, of course, expanding to the fourth truck. This is the same truck he drove last season, but the new manufacturer going to be a bit more of a challenge to work with this season in the CRTS.
Downey, I believe, is Rockstar Energy's main focus, because they've got all 20 races for this 19 team as their primary sponsorship. So can Downey do it? Is he going to be able to make the chase this year? We'll have to see. It depends how much they put on him, how much they put on Kukulan and their teammates here. As long as Downey doesn't get injured, though, I think he has a good chance to make the chase. We'll just have to wait and see how Rockstar Energy Racing fares against all the other teams next season.
All right, real quick, by the way, Peter, I got to go at like 4:15. So
Okay.
We can just pick this up after I come home tonight if you have time, but try to get through as many as we can.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Alrighty. Moving on to Sauber Racing, and they go from a single full-time truck and a part-time truck to two full-time trucks and one part-time truck, which could end up being full-time as well. And a big surprise, the driver who was the 10th seed in the chase last season and fought his way to being second in the points, only 8 back from Diego Yepes at the end of the season, that is the Italian stallion, Matty Porta. He has not won on a road course yet in his career. He won a JROC race at Watkins Glen. That is not the NSDCA. He has won at Dover, one career win back in season number 2 for Jones Racing Inc. And since then, he has been on that team. Now with the move to Sauber Racing and their focus on getting road course ringers on the team and a switch to Dodge from his old Chevy that he's driven the last 4 seasons. Castrol picking up some sponsorship for him for most of the season. Matty Porta looking for a rebound here and possibly able to get them a truck championship.
Porta, this is either the worst decision of your career or the best decision of your career. Many have said that Jones Racing Inc. wasn't the best fit for Porta, the team he's driven for since season 2. But is Sauber the better fit or no? Because Porta, when his time at JRI, he had his 20 equipment, which has now become the number 88. The truck Porta had at Jones Racing Inc. was their main truck. He was the number 1 at Jones Racing Inc., a team that has been through many different truck entries and many different drivers as well. Porta, it's just hard to say if he'll do good with Sauber or not. They obviously have a road course focus, but last season it seemed like the road courses were the only focus for Sauber throughout the 20 race season, because Alex Kraft last season in the equipment that Porta's taking over didn't do anything outside of the road courses. If that's either Kraft or it's the equipment, we might have to see with Matty Porta, who's proven himself as a well-rounded driver because he ended up finishing second in the points last year.
For Sauber, it should be a good thing to see if they can keep the truck clean. Alex Kraft was involved in many a crash last season. The most DNFs by one driver was Alex Kraft. Moving on to Rockstar Energy Racing's number 24, that is Cody Goforth. Last season was driven by part-time by Nicholas Wade, as well as Cody Goforth driving a handful of the 32 races and then moving to the 24 after Wade left. The number 24 team, again, moving to Ford, but Rockstar Energy, their 4th team. It should be interesting. Go Forth really had a surge in performance in the Mountain Dew Custom Series at the end of the season, but at the beginning, he was nowhere to be seen. RER, it's going to be a multitude of rookie drivers, 2 rookie drivers, 2 veteran drivers. The question is, will those veteran guys be able to teach both Morris and Go Forth the ropes up here in the big leagues?
Go Forth got plenty of truck time last season for RER, driving the number 32 and 24 on a part-time basis last season. I think he got like 6 or 7 starts, and he did show that he can wheel a truck in some of those races. So could Go Forth do it on a full-time basis with Rockstar Energy and Gold Peak T donning the sides of his truck? We'll just have to see. But I don't think Go Forth has a strong shot at the chase compared to Downey and Kukulon. But up next, we have the number 25 of Carson Bowers returning to his traditional number for Anj Auto once again.
Carson Bowers, your Season 2 Mountain Dew Custom Series champion when he drove for his own team, Clay Motorsports. Had a bit of a weird move around in the CRTS. Back in Season 1, he drove for Clay Motorsports, and it was announced at the end of the season that his team would merge with Monster Motorsports and join up there. That did happen, but Bowers did not return to Monster Motorsports. At the mid part of the season, or mid part of the off season, a deal between Anj Auto team owner Peter Onjak and then Monster Motorsports team owners Diego Yepes and Jacob Edson. It was revealed that Logan Cloud would be traded to the now GoDaddy Motorsports for Carson Bowers, and Bowers ended up taking the number 25 last season in the Crown Royal Truck Series. Bowers made the chase last season as the 9th seed, but really did nothing with it, unlike Matty Porta. Bowers has not won since his time in the Mountain Dew Custom Series. No wins in the Crown Royal Truck Series. And Anj Auto has not gotten a victory outside of a road course in the CRTS. Bowers not as strong of a road course driver as Tib Foster, his fellow teammate, but Bowers could be looking at yet another chase berth. He's made the last 2. He could do it again on points.
Bowers has proven himself as a top driver in the field. However, last season at Anj Auto, he had some bad luck. A lot of mechanical-related failures and DNFs took the 25 out of potential wins, notably Iowa and Richmond, both 7/8 or 3/4 of a mile tracks. He was bit at both of those with mechanical issues and taken out of a great shot to get a victory. Discount Tire at Aflac and longtime sponsor Verizon Wireless will adorn the sides of the 25 once again for Anj Auto. And Anj Auto's going to 4 trucks last year compared to 3. If they can do it with all 4 and prove that all 4 of their trucks can be competitive and not have bad luck like they did last year, I feel like that they are there to contend for not only 1 or maybe 2 or 3 chase spots.
A brand new team to the Crown Royal Truck Series, but not too brand new. In a deal with Diego Yepes Incorporated, their new satellite team, North Border Motorsports, and team owner Bobo Jones will be joining DYI much closer. The satellite team has also gotten a deal with Cloud Foster Racing Operations for Stephen Wallace Jr. to make his rookie campaign for the 27 team. A couple sponsorships that have been all over the NBM truck cars in Mountain Dew Custom Series. Even the DPDS getting a couple sponsorship there is Louisiana Hot Sauce, US Bank, and Carolina Nut. All of those sponsors going to be adorning the Ford for the full season. Stephen Wallace Jr., he has a win last season. He got one in the Mountain Dew Custom Series for Cloud Foster Racing Operations and will be going back and running another full-time campaign there, but will also be going for a CRTS championship. Even though they are the DYI new satellite, I don't think that they're going to be able to show that they have the speed, especially when they will most likely start the season uncharted.
It depends where Stephen Wallace Jr.'s focus lies. If he wants to put in the work in the CRTS mainly and prove that NBM can make all the races, maybe even get a charter, we'll have to see on that one. I think he'll have success. If he can get into the top 20 consistently, rack up some upgrades, he's proved he's a strong driver in the MDCS and RBSTS. 27 will be here to compete for a long time. But if Stephen Wallace Jr. wants to focus on the Mountain Dew Custom Series for CFRO like he did last year, he was a long shot title contender there last year, I think he won't really care as much about his truck program, and it'll end up being, oh yeah, he's looking for an MDCS championship, and oh yeah, he's also running trucks, but he's not doing anything. He's not really contending at all. So it depends, I believe, on Stephen Wallace Jr. if North Boulder Motorsports has success or not next season.
Next up on the line, Texas Star Racing once again, but as we said earlier, Riley Spurleytube will finally get his chance in the number 28 Dodge for Texas Star Racing. Coors Light and Orbit, longtime sponsors of that 28 team, will come back, but Spurleytube, this is his redemption season. He had to take a year off with all those injuries that he scored from the Indianapolis test. Him and Ethan Head both started off the season in hospital beds trying to recover from that. And Head as well, we forgot to mention, this will be his first full-time campaign in any NSDCA series. But Spurleytube in that 28, looking to bring TSR what he should have last season. He has one career win. That's Kentucky back in season number 2 of the Mountain Dew Custom Series. But Spurleytube had a few rides at the end of the season, including the 02 and 30. Backmarker teams, but still was able to get some laps in. Spurleytube going for his rookie campaign now. We're going to have to hope and see. It would definitely be a fan favorite win for Spurleytube to get in the chase or even win a race. We just have to wait and see.
Spurleytube is in the number 2 truck for TSR, even though it's number 28, the number 2 equipment, and like ranking on the totem pole. At least that's my opinion. Team owner Jay Jefferson might have something completely different. If Spurleytube can return to like his season 2 and season 3 form, where he proved that he is a serviceable driver, he'll have a strong season. If he's still all banged up and not his former self, then I don't think he's going to have a good season.
Next up on the grid, one of the most hyped teams coming into this season and one of the most hyped drivers, Jose Perez. He got that first career win at Kansas in the season finale for GDI, but his season was insane. He missed Sonoma, costing him a possible shot at the chase because of the team's financial worries. He came back a few weeks later and battled legend Jay Jefferson at Chicagoland all the way to the end, just getting past on the back straightaway, heading into turn 3 on the final lap for the race win. Perez has fought hard against many drivers this season, many legends, including Diego Yepes. He's been able to fight with him. But the GDI team, they're coming in with an alliance with DYI, but that doesn't mean too much in the terms of equipment. Wendy's, Texas Roadhouse, Corona, and Marathon. A lot of sponsorship coming in for the 35 team. The switch to Ford, though, could be a little wary for GDI.
But you have to remember that they're connected to Diego Yepes Incorporated, one of the number 1 teams, if not the number 1 team on the grid, on not only the past seasons, but this season as well. Honestly thought before they made that announcement that they were being connected to Diego Yepes that Perez would have fallen out. He would not have returned to his rookie season form, and he'd be stuck around like 20th place in points. Now that they have DYI help, equipment, maybe even upgrades, that team will be up at the front for years to come. Although I am a little bit surprised that sponsor U-Haul didn't come back to last season's Miracle team.
U-Haul has left the NSDCA. They were apparently unhappy with Jose Perez's performance, but he got them a win and some good finishes. We just have to wait and see if they might return to the 35 team in some facet. But next up, your defending Mosport winner, a very strong road course ringer, that is Tib Foster, the Season 3 Mountain Dew Custom Series champion.
Tib obviously is a fan favorite for one of the more fan favorite teams, and he has all that Exide Battery money coming in once again supporting him. They've been a longtime supporter for Tib Foster, but notably, Foster got his win out in Canada with Exalta on the truck, so it'll be Exide Batteries and Exalta sponsoring the truck, probably 1 or 2 schemes for the entire season. It's basically a co-primary between both companies as they both support Foster a lot. Exide showing their weight in the MDCS, sponsoring the 94 and 98 down there as well. Foster didn't have the best of seasons last year for his rookie season. He didn't have a lot of good qualifying runs, was caught in the midfield, ended up then being caught up in a lot of accidents. most of them probably weren't of his doing, but he contended up at Watkins Glen, one of the road courses, but ended up getting into contact with eventual race winner Alex Kraft, but he did pull it off in Canada. What kind of season will Tim Foster have? I'm not sure. Can he make the chase? We all hope he can, possibly either on points or a wild card.
Next up in this trio of Anjado trucks, all numbered very similarly, is the number 41 with their rookie driver, Anderson Reed. If you know anything about the Mountain Dew Custom Series, you know that Anderson Reed is one of the greats. 3 career wins, but only one of them came for Anjado last season in the Penn State number 44. That iconic number 44 being driven by the driver who always runs the number 44 that we'll talk about in just a minute. But Anderson Reed, he has been a Dodge loyalist, including his very first start in the Mountain Dew Custom Series. He went on to take the victory in one of the greatest races in the NSDCA, the Valvoline 200 for the Mountain Dew Custom Series for Evernham Racing. That was before that number 39 team had the alliance with Texas Star Racing, and Anderson Reed, he went on later that season to win at Pocono. He then went on to win at Watkins Glen last season, a driver who has not won on the smaller tracks, but is a king of the big ones. 3 career wins in the Mountain Dew Custom Series sits him second all time. But really, with that Anjado team, as unhealthy as it has been the last few years, especially with all those crashes last season, can the 41 team rebound with this brand new 4th team?
Although this is a new truck for Anjado, it was the part-time 04 last year, they haven't gotten a lot of upgrades throughout the offseason, trying to bring it up to the level that is the 25, 40, and 44. Reed has funding from Penn State once again, with other Pennsylvania companies, Dick's Sporting Goods coming on, and his former high school Great Mills sponsoring for a race, supporting their former alum. Reed, is he going to be a Rookie of the Year contender? I think so, because he's getting a lot of upgrades this offseason from the team. There are probably going to be 6 or 7 tracks 2 or more miles long in the CRTS next season, and we've seen how Reed is, even though there's only like 4 or even sometimes maybe even 5 in the NDCS. We've seen how good he is on those down there. Can he do it at the truck level? We'll just have to see.
Number 44 team comes out with their iconic number, iconic driver, iconic everything. That number 44 Dodge, Peter Onjak, the Season 1 Mountain Dew Custom Series champion. The thing that Peter has against him, though, every single Mountain Dew Custom Series champion besides Tib Foster has not won in any of the seasons following their championship. Bowers has not won since he won the title back in season number 2. Peter Onjak, he has that 1 career win at Kentucky, but nothing else to show for it. A very strong driver coming off of a drought. The team notably has not finished inside the top 5 since South Boston in the Mountain Dew Custom Series race. Peter Onjak, though, he has the drive, he has the team behind him. Of course, it's his own team, but that 44 team with the iconic Pennington colors being supported by Menards this season and A&W Root Beer. Peter looking to get back into that old form, trying to get himself back into victory lane.
Again, one of the fan favorite drivers, one of the most iconic drivers historically in the NSDCA. What can Peter Onjak do, the Season 1 Mountain Dew Custom Series champion, like you said? Can he finally break through, or will the injury bug strike him again? It was publicized that he did get a concussion in the Crown Royal 300 last year at Daytona, where he went for that wild tumble, but sort of a forgotten incident was at Season 3 in Pocono in the chase, which was, I believe, the chase opener, if not the second race of the chase, where Onjak ended up making contact with another car, which speared him into the end of the pit wall. They were at low speed, so no injuries were discovered, but Onjak believes that he did get a concussion from that as well. Can he turn it around? He's got more funding from Pennington, Menards, and Hershey's once again. Can the 44 team turn it around this season? We'll have to see. Will the drought end for the Season 1 champion?
And following that up in the number 45 for the old GoDaddy Motorsports, I should say, Zachary Racing's number 45, driven by Alex Peters. Peters notably went to victory lane last season in the 00 for Shade Burkhardt Racing at North Wilkesboro. But of course, if you know what North Wilkesboro was, it was a very big crash fest. The 45 team coming into this season with full GoDaddy sponsorship. With Jacob Edson retiring, they gave him Jacob Edson's truck and Jacob Edson's sponsorship. Can Peters go up and perform like season 3 Jacob Edson or season 4 Jacob Edson? Season 3, Edson went down to 2 career wins. Season 4, he did nothing. Alex Peters was a journeyman last season in the NSDCA Mountain Dew Custom Series. He was on 3 different teams. The 03 team, which he failed to qualify for twice. Diego Yepes Incorporated, by the way, as well as Zachary Racing for the beginning of the season, where he was inside the top 10 in points until the move to the 03 team. He finished out the season with Shade Burkhardt Racing and now goes back to Zachary Racing for a handful of Mountain Dew Custom Series starts, as well as his Crown Royal Truck Series rookie campaign. Can Peters get up there and try to contend like he did at North Wilkesboro last season in the CRTS? We just got to see. But Zachary Racing, their lineup is very strong. Question is, will all 4 trucks be able to show that speed?
Whoa there. He's running full-time in the MDCS, I think, in the 87. I want to say he's running full-time. And like I forgot to mention, the last driver up, Peter Onjak, he's running full-time in the MDCS next year. So there's just so many guys running full-time in both series. It could be a little bit confusing. But is Peters going to be able to make the cut? He's making the jump, sort of, because he's running full-time in both series. Is he going to be able to make the chase? He might score a short track win like he did at North Wilkesboro last year, but I think he needs to win to get into the chase in one of the 2 wild card spots. Other than that, I see him finishing in like the 15 to 20th in points.
Next up, just like Peter Onjak's iconic for his Season 1 championship, the Season 1 runner-up is iconic as well. Jay Jefferson bringing the number 48 Texas Star Racing truck back once again. The move from the 21 to the 48 in season number 4 brought him some rebirth as he went on to win at Chicagoland and be a contender in the chase. He was up front and came home in, I believe, the 4th position in points. Jay has that Cobalt Tools and Ozarka sponsorship coming back always for that number 48 team. And do not forget that Texas Star Racing won the championship in the Mountain Dew Custom Series in that 48 car with the rookie driver we'll talk about later. Jay Jefferson, though, a strong contender, always a fan favorite to win a race, but he was able to outduel Jose Perez at Chicagoland, take that victory. Can the 48 team bounce back? Can they get another win this season? 2-time winner at Richmond, and Richmond is now in the chase. Could be interesting to see if JJ will be able to put up his championship performance this season or if he will start regressing.
We'll just have to see for the longtime veteran driver. I think he has no doubts about making the chase once again. But right next up is the number 49 of Nathan Stapleton for Mid-South Automotive, the former Jones Racing Inc. team, just under a new name. Stapleton did drive for his own team last year, the number 80, but money fell through and he was unfortunately taken out of that truck halfway through the season.
And with that last season, the train wreck that was that 80 team did not get a charter, so they had to race into each race, and it really did not go well. Mid-South Automotive, the former JRI, has now switched to Dodge with Chevrolet leaving. A lot of people thought he would stick with his GM and go to GMC, but Dodge has picked up yet another top-tier team. That adds to the powerhouse at Dodge of Texas Star Racing, Onge Auto, Sauber Racing Team, Cloud Foster Racing, and more. Mid-South Automotive will field Nathan Stapleton with ZMAX and Wicked Energy Gum sponsorship. But the interesting thing is Advance Auto Parts has finally given up on Stapleton. Back in Season 3, Stapleton was fighting with JRI and Advance Auto Parts. Advance Auto Parts did not want him to go to JRI. Now he goes back after last season with AAP losing a lot of money due to that failing 80 team. They have left. It'll be interesting to see if they'll come back later, but Stapleton losing a longtime sponsor of his now for Season 5. It's going to be a all-new look for the 49 team, and Stapleton trying to pick up the pieces and get himself right, looking for that first career win this season in the CRTS.
DJ Gibson returns to the number 53 that he's driven for the past 3 seasons, but this will only be the 2nd season where he's doing it in the Truck Series. Friel and Switch returned for a split season, 10 races each for both those sponsors for Zachary Racing. Gibson landed a win last season at Pocono, and he used that to get him into the chase last season, where he was basically very quiet, however, for his number 53 team. In the shadows of team owner Zachary DeLello, Gibson looks to be possibly the number 2 driver, but it's unsure if he will be because of Paul Jackson coming in. Is Gibson going to perform? I'm not sure. We're just going to have to see if he's able to make the chase again or not.
You have to remember, though, Season 3 in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, Gibson was going to win the title until his car broke down in the closing laps of Kansas. Gibson knows that was his chance at a championship, and in the CRTS, he struggled a bit more than he did in the NSDCA, scoring 2 wins back in his rookie campaign. Last season, he came in and won at Pocono, a great run there, and Zachary Racing getting their first ever 1-2 finish. Gibson is a threat week in and week out, but with that Zachary Racing team expanding as they did from 2 to 4, it's going to be difficult. Zachary Racing has one thing going for them, though, and that is the full charter lineup. All 4 of their trucks locked in with those GoDaddy charters. Following Gibson, though, is his team owner, Zachary DeLello, in the iconic number 57 Applebee's Ford. He is coming into this season looking for redemption. Got his first career win at Atlanta after a chaotic race there, and DeLello in this 57 team looking to expand on that. Came into the chase last season, third seeded, wrecked out at Mosport, and it was downhill from there. Lost his chance at a championship. This season is definitely a redemption.
It'll be a redemption for sure. Can DeLello build off his win at Atlanta, possibly get some more? We'll just have to see. Or will he go on another very long winless streak? One of the top drivers and one of the fan favorites on the grid. DeLello has new funding from Winn-Dixie for part of the season this year. Can the Ford team, the team owner driver, the number 1 driver on the team, I don't think he's got any issues on making the chase again. Will he win and will he contend again? We'll just have to see. He really wasn't a championship factor last season due to his early wreck at Mosport, which really set an example for his chase until he won at Atlanta.
Next up on the grid for Sauber Racing is Zachary Fitzwater Sr., 4 seasons in the Mountain Dew Custom Series and winless the whole time. He has 1 career win to his name, though. That was with Anj Auto at Mosport in the inaugural Crown Royal Truck Series in the NSDCA Season 3. PureTech will sponsor the full season, but again, he will run the Marina Fox Foundation colors. A very good foundation for him. He has personal ties to it, and they will be adorning the 59 once again. But for Sauber Racing Team, this is the old 22 truck, and Fitzwater, not really the strongest driver on courses outside of the road courses. Had very strong finishes. He pushed Logan Bradley to the win in the Crown Royal 300 last season in the CRTS, and he finished in a top 10 position at Sonoma. But the 59 team is just trying to survive and trying to improve this season. Rumors of him retiring after Season 5 have popped up from the man himself, but Fitzwater just looking to put himself on the map this season for Sauber.
Can Fitzy prove that he can make the jump and sustain himself in the truck series? His truck team was pretty much irrelevant outside of when he was driving it. And in the MDCS, outside of road courses, Fitzwater's basically been irrelevant unless he's either at a road course or he causes a wreck. So Fitzwater, you definitely know who he is. He's big into motorsports. He's a big face for the series. And now he's in the truck series. And can he survive the strong field? We thought he would be able to excel in the MDCS as he stayed down, but other guys moved up into the top rides, and Fitzwater still couldn't capitalize on that. Now he's with Sauber and team proving that they can compete, but they can only compete on road courses. You can't forget, though, Fitzy does have a win at Mosport in Season 3, but that was for Anj Auto.
Joseph Srigley, this is an interesting story. Last season, he picked up what was basically the remains of Fallout Racing, the 63 number, the engines, the chassis, but moved to a Chevrolet ride for the final 3 races of the season, even after Chevy announced that they would leave the series. For his own racing team, and with a unknown sponsor in Inspector Thermal Solutions, picking up a full season contract, he moved over to Dodge and will drive the full schedule, or will attempt the full schedule at least for his own team. He had a Cloud Foster Racing Operations ride, but has moved out. Did move out of that. He was going to drive the 94 in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, moves to the 63 in the Truck Series. A questionable decision for sure, but the 63 team looking to survive this season, possibly make themselves into a powerhouse.
Strigley's been a quiet driver overall, I'd say. He had some part-time attempts for CFRO and his own team last season in the Truck Series. So what will he be able to do with ITS funding? I don't think they're funding that team a whole lot. So I'm a little wary if this team's going to compete the full season or not. But Strigley, I believe, is determined enough to make it work no matter what happens. Jumping back up the order, new announcement just came in that the number 30 for Burkhart Racing was originally supposed to be their part-time truck. It's been upgraded to a full-time entry. Matthew Eves and I believe their SBR MDCS prospects Matt Sladek and Mikey Yamakaze will be driving this car for the majority of the season. Toyota Tundra has Tunity and WWE sponsorship on it.
As well, a new sponsor on them is KFC, and they will be helping out Toyota Racing Development, fielding Luke Rainey for a handful of races that the TRD truck does not show up at. Coming up next, though, is the Smart Motorsports number 72. That is Matthew Brown. If you remember last season, Smart Motorsports did not make the full schedule. They started the first few races in the number 52 Domino's Pizza Ford and sold that truck off to DYI as soon as Sonoma went downhill for them. Matthew Brown moves up to the Truck Series for his full-time opportunity. Tide Cricket Wireless UPS jumping on board for Smart Motorsports this season, as well as their new partnership with GMC.
GMC obviously giving out a couple trucks to some of these teams. It's nice to see them here join the league with their new partnership with General Motors and a couple of these smaller teams trying to get themselves back together. But Smart Motorsports just announced that they have a partnership with Pedal to Metal Racing. So will Pedal to Metal's knowledge of not only GM, but their expertise and experience in the Truck Series help out this new 72 team?
One thing to note there is that Pedal to Metal finally getting an alliance partner. Last season they helped out OLSR. That didn't go too well, but Pedal to Metal coming back this season, of course, with the driver we'll talk about later on in this grid. Moving to GMC, hoping to be the powerhouse there. Next up, though, is our defending Crown Royal Truck Series champion in one of the most shocking moves of the offseason. Diego Yepes moves his number 77 Monster Energy truck now to Toyota and Shepherd Racing. Last season they drove with Mike Cook with the Target number 89, ran only a handful of races, tried to run most of the season but DNQ'd a lot. This season Monster Energy and Order of the Arrow coming back on to the number 77, but this time under the Toyota banner. Yepes looking to show everyone that he is not just an equipment driver and can bring a underfunded team up to the big leagues. We'll see if he can get it done this season.
This is a huge splash for Shepherd Racing. Obviously, that team last year didn't have the best truck program with Mike Cook. They missed probably about a third of the races there in the 89. But now with Diego Yepes, the champion, the greatest of all time so far here in the NSDCA, can he boost this team up? Can he get this team into the chase? Monster Energy obviously will support Diego wherever he goes because they are all over every track with their merchandise. Can Shepherd make the splash here with Yepes? It's going to be tough to see. I think that if Yepes doesn't point his way in, he'll still get in on a wild card because he is definitely one of the strongest in the field.
Moving on to another brand new team up in the Truck Series, Fitzwater Australia Racing drove with Zachary Fitzwater for a handful of races last season, most notably at the Crown Royal 300, not the Valvoline 200, where he pushed Logan Bradley to that win in the number 90 in the 59 truck, pushed Logan Bradley in the 94. PureTech comes to sponsor Fitzwater Australia Racing full time, but with a new face and a new number, the number 81, going with Mark Silas, the rookie coming off of Shepherd Racing's Mountain Dew Custom Series program, with a team that was very strong now to another brand new truck team. A big influx of truck teams this season, and with that new Dodge Ram body on that 81, we'll see what FAR can do without their lead driver in Zachary Fitzwater.
It'll be tough to see what this 81 team is going to do because obviously last year Fitzwater had some good performances in the 59 truck, but they had other drivers like Kalen Nosler and Noah Clifton, and they basically didn't do a whole lot at all. So it depends if Silas is going to perform on the level that Fitzwater did in the trucks or the level that Clifton did. So will this truck make races or will it not? We're not sure, but right behind them is the 82 of Irving Allison.
And this brings in two of the three, and this brings in two of the rookies for Shade Burkhardt Racing this season. Irving Allison, the first one up in the number 82 Toyota Tundra. He is driving SBR just like he did last season in the 83 in the Mountain Dew Custom Series. Eves, after Aiden Burkhardt and Blake Maurice both retiring last season, Eves had two slots to fill. One was filled up by Ryan Butcher, the other one, Irving Allison. The rookie looking to bring Spain some wins in the CRTS. The only Spanish-born driver in the field. He has Pringles, Eris, and Fifth Third Bank sponsoring for a majority of the season, but this SBR team always unstoppable in the CRTS.
It depends how unstoppable they can be, because last season they had some up and down moments depending on the cars. Matthew Eves really didn't have that hot of a season, nor did Aiden Burkhardt, but those trucks all can win. If Irving Allison can put it together like he did in the second half of the NDCS season last year, I think he may turn some heads, surprisingly enough. He has all of Spain behind him, but if he returns to the level that he did at the start of the NDCS season, missing races last year, although he does have a charter this year, he just was basically just invisible in like a back marker. If he falls like that again, I don't think this 82 has a chance at the chase. But if he does good, there's a strong threat because he's on such a dominant team.
With Matthew Eves, the team owner for SBR, moving out of his full-time ride, that opened it up for Zachary Racing driver Alex Benyako. Benyako moves himself and Ditech Motorsports to Toyota, and in an alliance partnership with SBR, they get Alex Benyako in this 83. A very strong truck and a very strong driver coming off a 2-win season in the Mountain Dew Custom Series with a record-setting 3 poles in one season last year. He has a plethora of sponsors coming with him. Waffle House and Pepsi, the big sponsors there that will be supporting him the full season. Benyako looking to break out and show that CRTS that he is a contender and he will be playing with the big dogs. He was honestly about to retire last season, but SBR was able to take him out of Zachary Racing, bring him to SBR, and put him in a top series truck.
Benyako was thinking about stepping away for a season because he really didn't have a shot at a Zachary Racing or a GoDaddy Motorsports truck, what it seemed like, until he decided that he would leave that organization, basically, and then a huge free agent signing, huge silly season signing, he goes to the 83 truck. And obviously, he probably would have had a shot in the now 45 truck, but Benyako left before GoDaddy Motorsports merged with Zachary Racing. So Benyako, he was very, very surprisingly poor in the Richmond test that we just had fairly recently. So can Benyako adjust to the trucks? It might just have been, it's his first time, so you got to give him a little slack for that. But these following tests are going to have to determine to see what kind of morale Benyako brings into next season.
Following the 83 is the 84 truck with a very strong driver and one of the best coming out of the Mountain Dew Custom Series, your defending champion, Jake Galloway. He won the championship last season in the number 48 Cobalt Dodge for Texas Star Racing. This season, Cobalt comes with him for a handful of races, as well as longtime sponsor Mick George and Earn Brew, two British companies. Back in season number 3, when he drove for Jones Racing Inc., he almost won the title, coming up just short of Tib Foster at Kansas, but he got the championship and a record-setting 4 wins in one season last year, winning both Talladega and Kansas, the final 2 races of the season. Galloway is a very hot prospect coming in and a fan favorite for the Rookie of the Year, but Texas Star Racing now expanding from 2 full-time trucks to 4 and a part-time truck. It's going to be a challenge for TSR when they have to balance so many things on their plate, especially with a very strong MDCS program. Question is, what will Jay do in consideration with his upgrades when those ratings days come around?
Jake Galloway has a charter for next season. It is number 84. And Jake Galloway, this is going to be an interesting move up because he's had 2 seasons, if not 2.5, down there in the MDCS. And he's shown his speed, he's shown his talent, and that's why he had such a great season the past 2 seasons. Championship contending in both, championship winning in only one of them. Can Galloway do it? It's I don't know how good he can break through because TSR definitely has a lot on their plate, like many of these other teams with 4 trucks. But 2 of them, the 8 and the 84, fairly lower upgrades compared to the 28 and 48. Can Jake Galloway break through? He'll have the help of his team around him and all of Britain right there behind him, just like Irving has Spain. Galloway's obviously a fan favorite driver, and I think that if the cards fall in his favor, he's going to have a great year.
Now, looking back at Diego Yepes, his move to Shepherd Racing opened up one of the top rides in the NSDCA. That is the number 85 now, with a brand new face, his first time out of his own team. That man is Carter Friesen, a driver who has not won in over 3 years. His only career win coming in the Season 1 finale at Martinsville in the Mountain Dew Custom Series. Monster Energy, of course, a longtime Diego Yepes supporter, of course, will sponsor a majority of his team. 11 races of this season being sponsored by Monster Energy, but of course, Carter's own personal sponsor and Allegiant Airlines will fill in a handful of races, as well as Rotiform for 3 races. Carter's move from Chevrolet all of his career except Season 1. Now he moves to Ford. It's going to be a great opportunity for him to finally shine when he doesn't have to worry about just pouring money into his own program. He can do that for his 91 truck and still race in top-tier equipment.
I definitely agree with that. Friesen just has a lot of worry off his shoulders, no longer being a driver owner. He's still an owner. The 91 truck still be racing, but Friesen, this is his best chance of his career to break through, win some races, and just hopefully make the chase. If he doesn't make the chase, that might be one of the biggest single season failures here in the NSDCA. But Friesen has the team support from DYI. He has the sponsorship money from Monster and Allegiant. He has all the things put together for him to have a breakout season. Can he do it? We'll have to wait and see.
Coming up next, earlier we talked about Matty Porta moving from now Mid-South Automotive to Sauber Racing Team. While Mid-South Automotive has picked up a very strong prospect, and in a bit of a shocking move, Austin Murray would not have been getting in a truck ride if he stuck with his Mountain Dew Custom Series team, which was Ange Auto. Ange Auto did not have any room left up there as they moved Anderson Reed up, so Murray would have been in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, but now Murray takes that step to Mid-South Automotive, driving the truck that Matty Porta brought to second in the points last season after an outstanding chase performance. Murray, looking for a Rookie of the Year contention, has shown speed in the testing sessions. And in private testing, AJ Jones has said he is one of the fastest drivers he's seen coming out of MSA. Austin Murray looking to finally break through and get some wins in a top division. He has not won since his RBSTS days.
Murray looks to just break out of Ange Auto. He'd been with them in Season 3 in the RBSTS and Season 4 in the NDCS. He had a very lackluster season compared to his teammate Anderson Reed, but he did have some strong runs in the second half of the season, and that's what landed him this MSA contract, as they moved away from Matty Porta. Smithfield, his MDCS sponsor, follows him along to the 88, as well as Lavazza and Captain Crunch. I'm not really sure what Murray is going to do. He definitely has some speed there in the MSA truck. Can he break through into the chase? That truck is very good because Porta finished second in points last year with that equipment. They're now a Dodge truck. They're now allied with Cloud Foster Racing Operations. So the 88, can it survive its manufacturer switch and make the chase once again, now with a hotshot rookie behind the wheel?
Moving on to the number 91 team. This is the Pedal to Metal Racing team that Carter Friesen owns and drives for the last 4 seasons. This year, a journeyman in his own right, Logan Cloud will step into the 91. Cloud has not had more than a season with the same team. Ange Auto in Season 2, he drove for the part-time team, but moving up to the full-time team in that number 44, he had to get a new crew chief. Then he moved to GoDaddy Motorsports in Season number 4 to the number 92 ride and got another new team around him. Now he moves to Pedal to Metal Racing on a 1-season contract. Logan Cloud looking to finally break through. He got a win in the RBSTS last season at Iowa, but a lot of his skeptics have criticized that win for being in the RBSTS and not being able to break through. in any of the top 2 divisions. A driver who has had some of the best equipment in the garage but just hasn't been able to capitalize on it. This season is big for Cloud to see if this is his boom or bust career. If he can win races in this pedal-to-metal racing GMC, then he should be able to get some of that hatred off his back, try to get himself into a career that could span multiple more years.
One of the more notable drivers here in the garage area, he does have something similar following over as Ray Bestis comes along with Martini and Sprecher covering most of the season. There is another sponsor floating around there somewhere, which slips my mind currently, but this 91 truck has been one of the stronger trucks in the grid. Friesen didn't make the chase with it last year. He made the chase with it in the first season of Truck, Season 3. Cloud, I think he can make the chase with this. If he can get some wins, I think he has a great shot at the chase right now because he needs to break through. He just needs to get into an environment where it's just him and there's little to no outside hindrances because he's been hindered at Launch Auto because Tim Foster was outperforming him. Even though they are good friends, he was still being outperformed and possibly may not have gotten the best treatment from the team. He goes to GoDaddy. He has issues with his team owner and his teammates, and that goes downhill. He misses the chase. Equipment gets torn up. So now he doesn't have any teammates. He'll have a teammate for some races. We'll get to that later as Pedal to Metal lands a part-time car. This is Cloud's, I think, his best environment for him to be in. Almost by himself, letting him do his own thing, and just blocking out everything else outside of him that could possibly be affecting his bid for wins in the championship.
Coming up after this, as we get into the 90s here, are the Cloud Foster Racing Operations Dodge duo. First up is Logan Bradley, the defending Crown Royal 300 winner after he was pushed to the victory by Zachary Fitzwater Sr. CFRO had an alliance with FAR last season until that broke down midway through the season, and now Logan Bradley and Dusty Neal, who are the 2 CFRO drivers, they're coming out here trying to show that CFRO has power. Bradley failed to do much in the Mountain Dew Custom Series last season compared to his teammate Stephen Wallace Jr., but Bradley's still a very strong driver. He drove in the NSDCA for the last 3 years, all for Dodge. So Bradley looking to get some good runs this season. Credit One Bank moves over from Impala now to the CFRO Dodge here, with Midnight Moon Moonshine, Click and Close, and Free Credit Report bringing up the remaining races.
Bradley has teased retirement these last couple seasons, but he's a long-tenured CFRO driver, and they've convinced him to stay on for another season or two, hopefully. And Bradley obviously had that miracle win in the Crown Royal 300, so he's looking to back up that performance next season. Right behind them is his teammate Dusty Neal, though, back for CFRO and Dodge. He ran part-time in Season 3, had some great performances. Many said that Peter Onjak should have moved out of the car when Neal was doing as good as he was, and Neal may have had a championship bid if he didn't miss those couple starts. But Season 4, he got his full-time chance last season, but didn't do much with it. The other cars caught up and outperformed CFRO overall pretty much last season.
Moving on from that, a 98. It's not CFRO this season, but it is a brand new team in Rogers Racing. Jake Rogers, the new owner here for a new Ford team. But a controversial driver stepping into it. Ricky Freeman Jr., the owner of RFJ Motorsports, who owned the number 56, the Mountain Dew Custom Series last season. Freeman will drive this truck full-time. Now, the only thing is, this is looking very similar to Golden Motorsports and Outside Line Sim Racing from last season. A brand new team comes in trying to fight in the big leagues with a rookie driver who has not proven himself yet in the NSDCA, and they're looking to go to the big time. With 41 drivers going full-time this season in the Crown Royal Truck Series and only 40 spots per race, that means at least one full-time team will drop out each race. Rogers Racing, a very likely candidate for that, being brand new and all, but Ford trying to get more teams in the Crown Royal Truck Series. They're trying to get that squad up, and hopefully we could see an underdog performance shine here with Ricky Freeman Jr. in Rogers Racing.
I got a quick hot take here that compared to this team, that the now A-Straw Motorsports and Outside Line Sim Racing looked a lot more credible coming in last season than Rogers Racing does this season. Both of those teams last year had big-time sponsorship deals from Chick-fil-A and LG, but Rogers Racing still doesn't even have a sponsor, and with Daytona so close, I don't even know if this team could even show up to the racetrack for Speed Weeks.
And finally, the final full-time truck, and one that a lot of longtime NSDCA fans know about. The iconic number 99, the Toyota for Shade Burkhart Racing. Brady Burkhart came so close to a championship last season at Kansas after Brandon Morris got into Diego Yepes, spun Diego into the wall, and basically almost cost Diego that title. Brady was up front. He was going to win the championship, but a mistake on pit road, a stupid strategy call, and then the truck blowing up with 5 laps to go cost him a title. He ended up finishing third in the standings. Brady has been one of the fan favorite drivers of his career. In season 1, he was the fan favorite just for that underdog performance that he would always shine through in the MDCS. Season 2, he finally got that win at Iowa, but season 3, season 4 was when he really started picking it up. Last season in the Crown Royal Truck Series, he got 2 wins very early on and looked like a title favorite. The chase just did not go his way. Longtime sponsors Mountain Dew and Dairy Queen return with a PPG paint scheme coming in for the summer months. Brady Burkhart looking to pick up what he had last season, looking for that elusive title that has escaped him for the past 4 years.
I don't think there's much else to be said about Brady. He's one of the top drivers. He's a lock for the chase every season. And though season 1 became a fan favorite just because of his struggles, he persevered, and he's proven himself that he is such a strong driver on this SBR team. There's really nothing much else to say other than he's going to win next season, he's going to make the chase, and he's probably going to contend for the championship once again.
Moving on here in the Crown Royal Truck Series, this will move us to the part-time teams. And starting off with one of the iconic part-time teams in the Crown Royal Truck Series, Evernham Motorsports. Of course, having the alliance with Texas Star Racing helps them get this truck to the track and get drivers in the ride. Larry Hagan was in this truck multiple times last season, as well as a handful of other drivers. But the O2 team, not really knocking the doors off for the part-time teams, but always nice to see that bright red Dodge up front.
Following them, the next part-time truck is the 03 for the Racers Group. This team had been the 30 the past 2 seasons as a filler truck, and this season they won't be driving their traditional black truck, at least for all of the seasons. They have Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff coming on board. They are still running the old Chevrolet Silverado bodies and front and rear clips and those decals on there, but Sam Picard is rumored for this truck for Talladega. TRG has gone through many notable drivers as well, such as Jake Galloway and Riley Spurley-Tube. Can Sam Picard prove that himself worthy once again in this truck? He is a one-time CRTS winner.
Caleb Henderson will return to the Square D Racing number 04/81, depending on what races they run. But, of course, working with Impala Racing, they still keep the Chevrolet Silverados. Henderson returns for the 3rd straight season in the Square D Racing colors and will run both super speedways, Daytona and Talladega, with a rumored road course race for a couple road course ringers should those opportunities come up. Square D Racing never has really had the equipment or the speed to get anything done, but it's always a feel-good story to see that truck in the show every weekend.
Next up is the number 06 for Harming Benning Peterson. That team drove in the RBSTS the past 2 seasons. This was notably a fan favorite because although they have struggled for funding, and didn't really compete as well as other teams did. They're just a fan favorite little team, little garage team, and they don't know the manufacturer, but Applebee's, through partnership with one of their owners, has come aboard for the Crown Royal 300. No driver yet, but they do have MDCS plans for the full season down in the MDCS.
Impala Racing comes back with their classic number 07 Chevrolet. Rich Energy, a brand new energy drink, has signed on for Daytona. And it is believed that Kev Shearer will return to the truck for a handful of races. Most likely the short track starts down in Virginia at Richmond and South Boston. Kev has driven the 07 before and had a pretty good run going at Richmond last season until he was caught up in a crash. Impala always driving just a handful of races during the season. With their Chevrolet Silverado, they will be returning for Season 5.
AJ Jones and Mid-South Automotive have a return to tradition, as AJ originally started off his NSDCA career driving the number 4 Dodge. But now the Dodge Ram in the Truck Series will be driven by AJ Jones and some of his MDCS and DPDS drivers throughout the year. A plethora of traditional MSA sponsors come aboard, with Bridgestone, Craftsman, All Pro, and Bass Pro Shops all coming aboard at points across the season. Although this truck is part-time, it is a feel-good story, and the traditional looks for many of those trucks return on the 4.
Following that, with Mid-South Automotive, they also bring out another part-time truck, the number 14, that will be mostly run between their 2-star Mountain Dew Custom Series drivers. Colton Lane and Austin Johnson will share the number 14 for a handful of races, and both of them, surprising that they are not moved into the Crown Royal Truck Series after a fantastic Mountain Dew campaign last year, they are going to go for a title in the MDCS. MSA goes from what they started with last season with 4 full-time trucks, now down to 2 full-time, 2 part-time. Look to see these trucks up front as Colton Lane and Austin Johnson fight the big dogs in the CRTS.
The number 18 for Mercedes Autosport is unconfirmed. Currently, no driver is given for this Mercedes truck, but Epson has been a rumored sponsor, and possibly Petronas as well, Mercedes-AMG's F1 sponsor. No driver is confirmed yet, although there has been many drivers rumored for the car, but some of those, like Alex Kraft and Cody Smart, have been taken by other teams. Will Mercedes Autosport make it to the grid for Daytona and the rest of the season, or will the lone Mercedes truck be driven by Ethan Head throughout the season?
Texas Star Racing, though expanding to 4 full-time trucks, decides to keep their part-time entry, that number 21. The iconic number for TSR has been driven by many greats. Jay Jefferson drove it in his first 2 seasons of MDCS competition and Crown Royal Truck Series before moving to the 48. Larry Hagan will drive a handful of races this season for the 21 Texas Star Racing Dial Soap Dodge Ram. Hagan, of course, has been a journeyman all his career and finally gets himself onto a top team in the NSDCA. We'll talk more about him in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, but a driver who everyone wants to see break through.
BK Racing returns to the grid with their number 23, with Burger King and Dr. Pepper partnering as the primary sponsors of that truck. The Toyota branding returns to the 23 team, and last year they had 2 part-time trucks, the 23 and the 26, but this year, seeing these swelled grid sizes, they've elected to only run the 23. This team has been through a rotation of drivers that's past 2 seasons, with names like Anderson Reed, Serena Sankoon, Austin Delgado, and Aiden Burkhart all taking part in their trucks throughout these past 2 seasons. Legends and no-names have driven these trucks. Who will they sign this year? We don't know, but we expect it's going to be Toyota drivers in the MDCS.
Next up, with that Ditech Motorsports Alliance and with SBR, the Ditech Motorsports team brings Cody Lamas, William Duncan, Jesse Turner, their MDCS drivers, to the trucks for a handful of starts. Number 29, Ditech Toyota Tundra. The Ditech team, of course, moving from Ford to Toyota is a bit of a sketchy move, especially with not as much funding behind the team as SBR does, but SBR, of course, going to take care of them. 29 truck might not make all the races, but it'll sure be a sight to see out on track with 3 MDCS drivers behind the wheels.
Sauber Racing bit the bullet and re-signed Alex Kraft for only 10 races confirmed for this 36 team. They said they were unhappy seeing that Alex Kraft did not have a ride and valued their former driver, as he did get them a win at Watkins Glen last season in the number 7. But Kraft goes over to the 36, his number for season 2, back when he was at Jones Racing Inc., I believe, or Gulf Racing. I'm not 100% sure on where he drove in season 2, but it was a number 36 Chevrolet. Kraft here with the Sauber Racing team backing for only 10 races. If he can perform, he'll stay on for the full season.
Speaking of the big move with Toyota, now Toyota Racing Development is now the new satellite team to Shade Burkhardt Racing. And TRD, focusing more on their Mountain Dew Custom Series program, they will have the truck open for their MDCS drivers. John Dilks moves from outside line sim racing and takes a step down to get a bit more acquainted with the NSDCA, as well as Cordell Smith, the defending RBSTS East champion, and Luke Rainey, who put on a show last season in both the CRTS and MDCS. Those sponsors coming on are Asen, Toyota Tsuo, Xerox, and Valvoline. The truck is what Brandon Morris drove last season as Morris moves over to the ownership role of TRD on the truck side. We'll be seeing if that 61 truck can make races like they should.
Eric Monaco slots over at the Pedal to Metal Racing part-time truck with Pedal to Metal's new connection with Smart Motorsports. Monaco, their Smart Motorsports' main MDCS driver. We'll talk about him more down there. But Pedal to Metal returns with their traditional Allegiant colors on their new GMC part-time truck.
A fan favorite a bit in the garage area is Johnny Zod returning to the Crown Royal Truck Series. His last race of note was his win at Talladega in Season 3 in the Crown Royal Truck Series. Grader's Ice Cream, of course, a longtime supporter of Johnny Zod, will return, but Zod not looking to run a full schedule. He has been helped with JRI, or now Mid-South Automotive. He has been working with that team on their trucks and on their equipment on that side, but he is allowed to come back and run a few races. He will be driving both super speedways as well as Michigan and Auto Club. Zod looking to just go back up, try to make races, possibly get up there and win. One thing to note though, on Giotto, better look out.
Ford Performance Racing started back in Season 1 with Sebastian Kukulon driving basically the research and development car for Ford overall in the NSDCA and the MDCS in Season 1. Humble beginnings for this team when the blank blue 94 landed Kukulon the pole at Iowa, surprisingly enough. Kukulon then moved over to Red Bull Motorsports, which is now Rockstar Energy Racing, and contended for the Season 2 Mountain Dew Custom Series title. Leaving FBR behind, the team basically ran out of money as Ford pulled out of the deal, but they decided to return last season here into the Truck Series with an F-150, sponsored by Conway Freight, with Maxwell Fye driving. Fye surprisingly made a bunch of races, attempted over half the season in the 76 truck, and made a bunch of races and actually turned some heads, I believe, in a couple races with some good runs, and ended up giving Fye enough notoriety to land the number 16 truck at Butcher Gatorade Motorsports, which is another Ford team. This season, though, Ford Performance Racing looks to attempt about half the season with Conway Freight and Power Stroke Diesel coming on board. If they want to have the funding to move up to Cup, they'll obviously need some not only from Ford, but they need probably a more experienced driver into the wheel to make sure they make a bulk of the season and get some good results. Maybe Kayla Nosler or Camden Luca. Both of them have been sitting on the sidelines for a while and bounced around rides. Maybe it's their turn here at FPR to give that team a boost.
Shepherd Racing, not forgetting about their driver Mike Cook from last season, will bring him back for the 2 super speedway races. At Daytona and Talladega, Mike Cook will be driving the Racing with Jesus, number 89 for Shepherd Racing. Teammates to Diego Yepes, and that should be a big help to this young driver who made the jump from the RBSTS all the way to the CRTS last season, which did not work out too well for Shepherd. He's back in the Mountain Dew Custom Series, but will drive a few races for Shepherd in the CRTS.
Rounding out the part-time trucks that we have currently right now is the number 90 for Kamikaze Motorsports. Casey Mears, Austin Delgado, and Roger Ray will all take part in this truck. The Dodge Ram, driven by its Kamikaze Racing and Anj Auto MDCS drivers on a part-time basis. Wix Filters comes aboard to sponsor this truck as It was basically a thank you from Anj Auto for being loyal satellite team last season, and coming on to this season that Kamikaze Motorsports landed a part-time truck which was funded and bought by Anj Auto. So it'll be tough to see if the 90 makes races or not, as Wix Filter sponsored Tib Foster last season.
With over 50 trucks on with over 50 trucks on the schedule this season, and possibly upwards of 60 entering the Crown Royal Truck Series, Crown Royal 300, we will have a lot of contenders and a lot of backmarkers all throughout the season. Some of these trucks will get on track and do great. Some of these guys will struggle and will have to go back to the drawing board. It should be an exciting season here in the Crown Royal Truck Series for a 22-race schedule. We'll see you guys there at Daytona in just a few weeks. From myself and Peter, we thank you guys for listening in. We'll see you guys next time on the NSDCA.